This is Desi. Welcome to my dad's podcast. Why didn't the lion eat the circus clown? Because he tasted funny. Where did the cows go on Friday? To the movies.
Oh, why, hello, Tom.
Bienvenue sur le podcast des deux papas qui parlent.
Hello, my dad. You have pants.
Welcome to the Two Dads Talking podcast. We're recording a day late here, and we're good with that because Wednesday was silly. We're going to talk some Olympics tonight. Doug has followed the Olympics dutifully and closely as an ardent patron of the United States of America and fan of our athletes, a supporter of all things American. Doug has followed this thing very closely. So we're going to have a really riveting talk tonight.
I feel like I need to have a Tom BSO meter where I can catch those subtle little hints in your tone where it's like, I'm lying through my teeth right now.
I don't know how subtle they are, one, and two, you don't really need a meter because it's really always at that one level. Like it doesn't really go down very far from there.
So, as you might have guessed now, I've barely watched the Olympics. I've seen whatever's on making the rounds as the trendy thing to be outraged about or cool about or whatever. I probably sat down in front of the TV with the Olympics for a grand total of 30 minutes at this point, and most of it was the relay races at the track. So, and a couple of the swims, like the 50-meter butterfly, I think, and all that jazz. So, long story short, I haven't really seen much, but that has established a fun little experiment for Tom that he's going to try on me tonight. So,
Yeah, I'm excited. This is
in
going to
the
be fun.
interest of French, I get to be the guinea pig.
We. So tonight we're going to take a little trip to Paris and we're going to talk about the 2024 Olympics, which are currently still ongoing. And this year's Olympics have provided a great deal of talking points, of highlights, of happy moments, of head scratchers, controversy. This has been for a year where I initially had very little interest in the Olympics when it started this year. Generally, I get very excited for them and I have a lot of fun getting ready. This year, I had very little interest as the Olympics got closer and closer. And yeah, it's been a weird one. My bandwidth is down. We're struggling with energy, we're struggling with mental health things, we're struggling with being busy, and just it's hard to get excited about the Olympics this year. But it turns out they have provided some amazing talking points. And we're going to take Doug on a little tour. I think it's going to be kind of fun because he's not been tuned in. And so we're going to see, what he's seen in headlines and what he hasn't. Maybe we'll have some surprises for him and we'll get some kind of raw reaction from Doug. So
yeah. So for all of those who love me most when I'm at my most ignorant,
yeah, this is for you. This
is the episode for you.
Yep.
It's going to be great. And then I'll show myself out afterwards.
Maybe we'll do a little true or false too. Oh, that's a fun way to
that's
do
a
this.
good idea. That is.
Okay.
Man, I think I saw a little. Was that a light in your house, or did that just show up for me above your head?
It just showed up for you. Yeah.
Okay.
And
cool.
It burnt out already. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't very.
What were we talking about again?
Yeah. All right. So let's do some true false.
This is good. Oh, now I'm excited. Before I was just going along with it.
Okay.
Guinea pig style, but now I'm excited. Guinea pig.
I'm just gonna ask questions. And Doug will answer true or false, and we'll go back and elaborate on these after. But let's see where he gets. And he's seen enough headlines. I assume he'll get most of these. But let's have fun. True or false? The United States is currently leading the Olympics in total medals won.
True.
Very good. True. Currently, we've got 103. The next closest is China at 73. True or false? The United States is currently leading in gold medals. Very true. We have a 1 medal lead on China. Doug's killing this. True or false?
Only 1 because the last image I saw, we were leading by like 8.
Oh, well.
So I almost missed that one.
China has had a very strong year this year.
Yeah. Like that one chick that did the dive. Did you see that 17-year-old?
Yeah.
I saw that just video and my mouth dropped open. It's like, that's not possible.
There have been
that was amazing.
Yeah,
that was actually astounding. Yep. That was cool. Anyway, sorry.
You're good. No. Continue. True or false? The opening ceremonies included a reenactment of the Last Supper.
I am going to say true.
Okay.
Because it was reported that the organizers of said enactment stated explicitly that it was meant to emulate the Last Supper. People then later came in with damage control to say that it was about the Greek gods and Dionysius specifically, and that kind of feast portrayal. And the blue guy was supposed to be Dionysius. So I'm going to say true because there were some quotes saying they very much meant to emulate that, to draw parallels to that.
True, there was a representation of the Last Supper at the opening ceremony. True or false? The participants of the Last Supper at the Olympics opening ceremony were transgender trans women.
Well, true.
Yeah, every one of them. An interesting representation that drew quite a bit of headlines.
Yes.
True or false?
False, just based on what your face you're making.
Nope, I'm trying to find a way to say it without giving it away.
Oh, okay.
True or false? A silver medal was won in marksmanship by a retired Turkish hitman wearing casual clothing, without eye protection, without headphones.
False. Can't confirm that he was a hitman.
But
everything else is true.
I think we've confirmed he is. I think we've all
was
decided.
He actually?
No, but we've all decided.
Damn it! I was going to say he's obviously a hitman.
Yes,
clearly. Honestly, he looks like the bad guy of Transporter 7.
Yeah,
that's exactly who he looks like. He's like everyone's hero now.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty cool. True or false? The first text message that he sent after winning a silver medal was to his divorced wife, saying, "I hope you saw that. I want the dog back."
False.
You're batting 1,000 so far. False is correct. There was a satirical post that went up just after his silver medal that showed that first, and then it followed with a, "Hey, we're sorry," because people took them too seriously. We'll talk about this in a minute too. People didn't realize it was satire, and there was the rest of the article was basically, he's relatively new to sharpshooting. He only picked up a firearm for the very first time about 2 years ago after a heated argument with he and his wife, and that was like the whole premise of this satire. And a lot of people didn't realize it was satire and were very up in arms about this, if you'll pardon that pun. And so they then released another Facebook post afterwards saying, "We're very sorry that you all thought that this was being posted as though it was real and it was true. We write for humor. This is what we do. We wanted to clarify things and make sure that you all understood that that wasn't true. In fact, he already has his dog and the dog is safe." And that was their response, which was a pretty good response.
It is a good response. This is actually a not a real pun, but like it sounds like they were firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, they were. Yep, they were.
That I did not hear. But see, that was the thing. I'm sitting here thinking that has to be false. And I'm like, but it's so obviously false. What if it's not?
It might have been true. I thought I was going to get you to say true.
It's one of those stranger than fiction potential kind of thoughts.
Yep.
Side note on that, dude. So the one of the first times I actually saw that picture, someone posted it and it said 7 a.m. wake up, 8 a.m. eat breakfast, 9 a.m. read newspaper, 10 a.m. join the other retired boys at Panera for coffee, 12 p.m. lunch, 2 p.m. swing by the Olympics and win a silver medal, 5 p.m. dinner.
Accurate, all accurate.
Just like, it's great. Loved it.
All right. True or false? A pole vaulter lost his chance to compete for a medal when his penis knocked the pole off of its platform during his jump. Wrong. That is false. That's the common narrative, but the truth is his feet brushed it first, so he was technically disqualified before his package dislodged it.
But that was a real article, not satire, that said it on the headline.
That's true. And his bulge did knock it off of the mount. That part is true. When he touched it with his feet, he didn't dislodge it with them. That disqualified him.
It didn't disqualify him.
He was already disqualified because his feet touched it first.
Well,
or his legs touched it first.
That was him finishing the job.
Yes, as you're supposed to do in that case. True or false? He was offered $500,000 by a male or by an adult entertainment company for a 1-hour live video appearance.
Thought this was going to be another question about him that I was not knew.
It is a question about him.
I'm going to say false because I'm just willing to bet the dollar amount is different.
Very good. You know me too well. It was not $500,000 they offered him. Do you want to guess what it was for bonus points?
320.
Close, very close. $250,000 to be naked on camera for 1 hour with them. That's a heck of a payday.
That's a heck of a payday.
All right, let's see.
I guess I know what we're talking about after this. Would
Yes.
you?
We go back to the OnlyFans jokes we made not too many
Just gonna say,
episodes ago.
So for me to box Mike Tyson naked, it's $6,250,000 for an hour.
Ooh, to box him naked. Interesting. That does add a wrinkle.
I feel like that's you gotta have balls to do that.
It's true. That's true.
I feel like I'd have to double my fee for that because he'd be laughing the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think I would still do it for 600,000. I don't think that would change my dollar. I would try to get more money out of them for that, but if they said no, we're still only paying you 600,000, I'd still take it. That'd be fine.
Ridiculous.
All right, true or false? Russia is banned from this year's Olympics.
True.
Very good. So is Belarus, their ally. I was surprised when I learned they were actually banned. I didn't realize that was going on.
I'd heard rumblings of that, but I never actually confirmed it for myself.
True or
mostly
false?
just because I haven't seen any highlights about Russia anywhere.
Yeah. They don't appear on the medal count. The first time I saw that, I went, wait a minute, did I miss a headline here? And sure enough, I did.
They usually bring in a couple because
They're
they're
usually
Russians.
right up there, yeah.
They're like, some of those people are fucking crazy.
True or false? A swimmer who won a gold medal swimming through the polluted Seine River dedicated her gold medal to her dead cat.
Feels like a true.
Close. False. She dedicated it to her dead dog. Her dog died in May, and she dedicated the event to her dog, which I thought was very touching. True or false? One of the volleyball teams featured a convicted pedophile.
Oh, true.
True. I think it was the Dutch team. I don't know that one for sure, but I think it was the Dutch team. True or false? A medaling team in the synchronized swim performed Michael Jackson's Moonwalk, or a version of it.
True, and it was the U.S.
It was, and it was awesome. It was super cool.
I like how they have the thing where you can see below the water now.
Yeah.
You can see what they're doing under there, too.
I don't remember a time before that was the case. I don't think I ever paid attention before then. Is this a recent?
That's why I thought it might have been new this time because I don't remember
is.
seeing that either. I maybe see it a few times, but not like on all the videos. So
when I was watching it, I didn't realize it was anything new. I kind of felt like that was how I'd always seen it. So my brain's probably just like, using heuristics and shortcutting to keep me happy. But yeah, I didn't realize it hadn't been that way. Thanks, brain. I appreciate it.
I was going to say, you just gave your brain a lot of credit there.
True or false?
Also, how many sizes does this loop have, motherfucker?
Yeah. True or false? A swimmer from Paraguay was kicked out of the Olympic Village for unbecoming behaviors and a trip to Disneyland.
And a trip to Disneyland?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard someone was kicked out for unbecoming behaviors, but I have no idea what they would have been. And there was a lady, and I didn't realize what country it was from. So I'm going to say true.
Very true. Yep. Swimmer from Paraguay. She was kicked out she was asked not to stay there any longer with the Paraguay team because she was a distraction the way she was acting and dressing and behaving. And she apparently snuck off to Disneyland when she was supposed to be doing something with the team and was like, I'm going to go to Disneyland instead. And was posting social media images and
really?
being an influencer while she was supposed to be with the team. So for bonus points, can you name the country that she said she wanted to compete for instead of Paraguay?
No bonus points. Uruguay. Why not?
She wanted to compete for the United States.
Oh, really?
She did some college here and competed for a year while she was doing college here. And essentially said that the way they do the Olympic trials in Paraguay is unfair and that they don't care about the swimmers and they threaten them and they make it extremely uncomfortable for them. And she said she really wished she had been able to compete on behalf of the United States instead where she did college. But it turns out her times were not good enough to qualify compared to the girls that made the team for us. She wouldn't have qualified anyway. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So you think, is there obviously some conspiracy that was retaliatory for
Might have
them to
been.
kick her off? Maybe like they were already not really liking her all that much, but they had to bring her anyway. And now
I think that might have been a part of it. She qualified through what they call the university program. So it's not like she was, someone that they necessarily wanted, but she competed and she had good enough times to make the team. And she made those comments before the Olympics. So she actually competed well after she made those comments.
Feels like there was It feels like there's more here. Like there was a lot of tension leading up to this.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
And then she was just like, screw you guys, I'm just going to Disney.
Yeah. Apparently she quit swimming the
Yeah.
day after her last event. She's like, yeah, I'm retiring from swimming. She's 20 years
Oh,
old. She's like, yeah, I'm
wow.
just done. But that's kind of common. A lot of people have been doing that lately. There's a British swimmer who silver medaled, and he said the same thing. Like at the end of the week, he's like, "Yeah, I'm done swimming. This is it. Just gonna retire."
Yeah, I guess if you don't have, if you're not like I mean, just personality wise, if you're not like a, Phelps type or something like that, who's just, that's like literally everything in your
Yeah.
blood, then yeah, you reach the top of the sport, like literally the very top, and you're like, I'm good. I did it.
Yep. Were there?
Yeah, yeah.
Very good for someone who says he didn't follow the Olympics.
Well, I
He accomplished
don't,
it.
but I see all the headlines. I
Oh,
just,
see, there you go. Then you're good. Did you watch the speed climbing events? Did you see any of those?
no, speed climbing.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
that'd be fun.
You
Those
need to watch a
people,
YouTube video on
they are
speed
not.
climbing. I
I've
didn't know that
seen
was a thing.
I've
Oh
seen
my.
speed climbing like events before, and I'm like, these people aren't human.
Yeah.
Like they make these are the Sam and Dean kill these people.
Yeah, right. Exactly right.
In Supernatural.
Somebody get the shotgun with the rock salt.
Basically.
No, I think that'd be fun. Oh, here we
Yeah.
go. Here's a fun one.
Okay.
Loki, Tom Hiddleston, recently did an interview where he was asked if the Avengers were at the Olympics, what events would they play? Who did he say would be the speed climber?
Do they actually have to climb, right? They can't like
Yeah, yeah,
fly
actually has
or
to climb. Right.
teleport or anything like that.
I thought this was brilliant. Tom Hiddleston did a great job with this. He was asked it on the cuff, on the spot, and he just went with it and named events for different Avengers. It was
That's
great.
funny.
Yeah.
My knee-jerk reaction is Black Panther, actually.
That was mine at first too. And then
Hmm.
I forgot that for a while Spider-Man was an Avenger, and he actually said Spider-Man would
Oh,
win that thing.
yeah.
And yeah, that's absolutely
Yeah.
right.
That's right. That makes a little bit more sense. Yeah.
He said that
Nice.
the Black Panther and Captain America would both probably run the 400 meter.
Black Panther could do floor gymnastics. He could do
Oh
the
yeah,
gymnastic stuff, and
I think
Captain
he could do
America
any
would be
event
sprint.
there. I think Black
Most of
Panther
them,
and,
yeah.
and probably Captain America too. Like those two could probably do all of the events except maybe archery. Like Hawkeye's just got archery, so just don't even
Well,
try.
yeah, clearly. Hulk's got the shot put.
Yeah, that was what he said. He
I
said
was
Hulk,
gonna say-
Hulk
was
would
gonna-
just show up to throw things across the arena. So anything you can just throw. Thor, he said,
Yeah.
was going to do the hammer throw. Like, yeah, it's a little
Yeah,
obvious, but yeah, we like
on the
that.
nose. Yeah, okay.
Black Widow was doing gymnastics.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, there were some good ones in there, but he was pretty quick on his feet with the answers. It was pretty impressive. All right, so let's do some Olympics nutshelling. Opening ceremony, Doug. How do you saw the headlines? You tracked a little bit. We're going to start with that since it's the beginning. Do we want to get your opinion on this, or is this something that's going to get canceled and we should skip by it?
Sure. And sure. As far as I can tell, the reports that the one dinner attendee, supper attendees, gonads were showing at one point on camera.
I
And
missed that report. Wow.
I mean, unless this is just made up, that's the thing. Like, there's so much. I think that actually happened. Now you got me questioning it. That you gave me all this trivia stuff.
Well, and here's something else that we probably should have talked about before I started taking you on the tour here and asking. Something that was really fascinating to me throughout this is with all the controversial items that have happened, one of the prominent influences for the media being sent out has actually been shown to be Russian disinformation and Russian media outlets. And it's
Oh, really?
interesting that they're spreading a lot of disinformation, I would think in part because they're not allowed to be there and, they want to ruin the
Right.
parade. And in part because they think the entire world is ganging up on them still and that they're they're victims here in the Ukraine war. So they're spreading a lot of disinformation and they're inflating a lot of these things and really taking what might be an inflammatory situation and they're just hitting it with gasoline over and over in a lot of these spots. The boxing is another one where they have put out a ton of disinformation. That's interesting to me, just to rile people up and make them mad.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't they?
Right, but they're making like a dedicated effort at this, and it's interesting to me. So everything we talk about right now is obviously we're not in Paris, we're not in France, so we're relying on the media and on news coverage for all this information, and it's really interesting to me how obviously tainted a lot of this is, and they're not even hiding it. They're really they're straight up admitting to a lot of this, which is fascinating.
Yeah, I well, see what I'm trying to find because I saw a report that the one one of the characters in this Last Supper at one point, probably not on purpose, but his balls were sitting kind of out to the side of his, underwear at one point, and he was one of the ones kind of like to the left on your vision.
Interesting.
And there was also a side that one or two of like the kids were on with that same guy. I don't know if it was at the same time or not, but that was kind of that was a thing where I was just like, if this is what actually happened, that's actually even worse. I mean, my real opinion on this was I saw it. It was obviously in my mind meant to emulate the Last Supper. It was obviously meant to be a slap in the face to Christians. And I kind of went, okay, that's, you know, disgusting and let's say like unprofessional and stuff like all those words, but it didn't really shock me all that much. I just went, ugh. And then I moved on with my day because to be perfectly honest, I'm kind of used to it. It's not surprising that, people try to be edgy to go after these certain religious groups because that's just how it is.
Hmm. I think that's a very chill take. I found an image.
I mean, like I'm desperately waiting for someone to do something like this on this scale that involves Muhammad in any way because it'll never happen.
The backlash would be through the roof. Yeah.
Well, right, and but the way some people talk about Christians and Catholics, you'd expect another crusade. Another crusade should happen if something like this is done, but they know it won't be done because the religion literally preaches like, be better.
Yeah.
So that's it's just not surprising. I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's gross. Yeah, that's disgusting. That's pitiful. But like, it's not surprising.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. I found my new screensaver.
For
Thanks for
wondering what he's
that.
talking about, I found a picture of it and put it in the chat for him. I just want to make sure we had some image we were looking at and working off of together. Okay.
Oh, yeah. This is the weirdest thing you've asked to do together, Tom.
Yeah, it is. This is an odd one with Dionysus sitting there with his acorns showing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the opening ceremony. There were some other issues with the opening ceremony that drew a lot of attention, like the fact that they did a very poor job covering it. With NBC, they had Peyton Manning and Kelly Clarkson, and the coverage was just not great. It really there were some awkward moments. There was the weirdest part to me, and I love Kelly Clarkson. I like her a lot as a person. She had Big Lux on her show at one point, and that was amazing. And she's just a good person, and I really do like her in a lot of ways. But
That's how you know Peyton Manning is actually the GOAT because they would have gotten Tom Brady otherwise.
I think Tom Brady realized this was going to be a shit show and didn't want to be involved. He was
And I
smart enough
think
to pass.
and I think Peyton Manning realized it was going to be a shit show and was like, hell yeah, I'm there.
Maybe that he might be more fun than Tom Brady. That might be the case. But
He
there was a moment
regarded as
where
like the biggest prankster when he was in the league. People were
believe
always
that.
like, sometimes got annoyed with him. Like he was always just doing shit to people.
There was a moment where they were talking about a singing performance. I think it was by Lady Gaga, and it's been a little while now, so I forget already. But I think it was Lady Gaga did the performance, and then they went to Kelly Clarkson for her commentary. Like, that's her job, is to provide commentary.
Right, especially on musical stuff.
Right. And
Yeah.
and she just literally looked at the screen and said, I can't talk right now. I just can't talk right now. It was so moving. I just can't talk right now. And then they had like 10 seconds of silence while she just choked up with tears and couldn't talk. Like, come on. At this point, this is your job.
It's pretty moving.
Yeah, no,
Just not
it
the
really,
right kind.
I think it's, yeah. So that disappointed me a little bit. It's, if it's authentic and genuine, I get it. But when you're brought there to comment on that, and that's the job, like, so that was kind of weird from the opening ceremony. And there were some moments, but all in all, the opening ceremony was a mixed bag of worms that was not particularly well reviewed, but received by the majority, we'll say. There are some people who obviously are heralding this thing, and now I feel represented, and you've got that. But for the most part, the vast majority of people around the world were not pleased with the opening ceremonies. Then we
Took
get
an
to the
Olympic
good
opening
stuff.
ceremony to feel represented. I mean, I'm sorry. I know we have a discussion to try to mediate some of this, but if this is what makes
Yeah.
you feel accepted, what else can we give you if it, you know what I mean? It's the Olympics. Go ahead. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
I just feel like it's in that case, I had quite a few friends. It's not the same, and I know it's not quite the same, but I had quite a few friends, especially in the army, who were homosexual and had to kind of keep that under wraps for a long time. And I remember having a talk with one of them in Germany, and she was super cool. And the the basic discussion we had was, Saranji, you don't understand what it's like to always feel like if I told people, who I was, that I would be judged and their opinion of me would change and it would change things and I would be judged for it. And I do remember feeling at that time thinking like it's got to be awful whether that's an accurate assessment or not to believe that it's true. Like to be in a place where you feel like if you were completely open and honest about who you are and what you like and what you do, that you would lose friends, that people would judge you, that it would change your entire world dynamic. You shouldn't have to live with that kind of fear of being open about yourself. And so you should have the safety and the comfort to be open and honest about yourself and feel like you wouldn't be judged. I know this is different, but I remember that and that's one thing for people who really are dealing with this and it's a real struggle. I still feel like there's probably not a lot of inclusion just on a day-to-day basis.
Well, but like the whole don't ask, don't tell policy was basically just to extend to the military, kind of like what we've talked about, which is what you do in your own house or in your own bedroom, like, behind closed doors is kind of none of my business. As long as it doesn't like affect my day to day, like we're cool, like that's fine. When you put it in my face, like this is going to be extremely reductionist, but it's not like the rest of us have never had to put ourselves out there to a new group of people or a group of friends and been lambasted or anything like that. I mean, it is different when you're talking about something like an orientation, but it's also not like you're not the only person who's risking acceptance or not based on who you are. Like that, it's not like no one else experiences that too. It's just on varying levels. So
Yeah,
for
but the way
me,
you're
something,
doing it is a way that's been looked down on by society for about 2000 years at a minimum. I do feel like it's different there in that regard because
well,
it's been
yeah,
looked down on and shunned and ostracized, and you're at a higher risk in that case because it's been that way for
yeah,
most of
and
our
you know what?
civilization.
Tribalism and whether or not it's a feature and not a bug, like our whole discussion that we've had. But I mean, my personal little anecdote for this was back I don't know how long it was back in my high school days, I had a group of friends and one of them in this little group, I mean, we'd always suspected that he was gay.
Hmm.
Just, you know, we had reasons. I mean, like, come on, we're not stupid. Like we're paying attention.
Yep.
And at some point, we've been a group for a couple of years and he just goes, "Hey guys, I gotta tell you all something." And we're like, "What? What's going on? What's happening?" Like we're actually concerned. Like he's usually not like that serious or whatever. And he goes, "I'm gay." And we were like, "Yeah, okay. Um, we know." And he was like, "What?" We're like, "Well, I mean, I know we've never really talked about it, but we all kind of assume." We're like looking at each other like, "Right, guys?" Like we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, well, this was a much bigger deal in my head." And we're like, I think two people were like, "You should have just told us sooner, man." Like we've been kind of operating with this understanding for a while now. And I could see like the pressure was off of him. Like he definitely was like completely comfortable the rest of the night. But I also remember thinking, if I take everything that people say at face value, this buddy of ours had it good. He had a group of friends who was accepting of it and also like knew it already and we didn't pressure him. We didn't like ask him, "Hey man, you gay?" Like we just let him be who he was. And I remember thinking if he was really on his P's and Q's, he would have smelled that a little bit sooner and it wouldn't have been such a big deal to him. And it shouldn't have. And I mean, I'm not trying to denigrate one side of things. I mean, there are plenty of ignorant people out there who make life hard for us, but I've always kind of been that viewpoint of just I can disagree wholeheartedly with basically everything that you are, but at the end of the day, you're still a human
Yeah.
until you prove that you actually disregard other humans. Then I'll still respect you even just for that. And something like this, to me, is saying that you have no respect for me and my lifestyle. So now my trigger is I don't want to respect yours. To me, this kind of thing actually hurts this community because you're now not winning over lots of the rest of the world. You are flaunting it with this Last Supper stuff. You're basically saying, hey, look, we can do this, and you're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, I agree with the Last Supper thing in particular. I think that was, I feel like that was meant to be a middle finger to people. I really do.
Well, right. And that's so when I say that,
I think intent matters. And I think that was meant to be
Yeah.
a screw you. I really
yeah.
do.
And that's so I'm not saying like, I wasn't saying you don't deserve, some sort of acceptance. I think that's really where it came from, which is, listen, this is now officially flaunting it in my face.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I don't go too far down that rabbit hole because we have a whole nother
Yeah.
conversation
No,
coming
I know,
up
I
about
know,
that
I know, I
next
know.
week with a guest with a guest
Yep.
with a special guest. We'll tease that one.
The reason I really liked watching the Olympics, and I usually don't sit down to watch things like this most of the time,
Yeah.
but the Olympics were kind of actually the one time when, we did kind of feel like one world all the time. I mean, you see athletes helping each other out from different countries, and like, well, like the Chinese diver, like there's normally I want to be for entertainment value or otherwise being like China, but this Chinese diver did an amazing thing, and everyone's just like, wow, that was amazing, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the time when we all kind of come to an equal playing field and all just compete against each other, and we're all just human and nothing else. There wasn't really any politics into this, but it started getting injected into it the last few, and now it feels like we lost that too. It's just a way to all be human with each other. There still has to be other motives or other agendas, and that's just what really got me with this. Was it's kind of like, if you had any doubts before, they should be gone now, that some people try to use this for an agenda. That's all.
Yep. I agree with that. Okay. So past the opening ceremony, now we're going to get to a couple of, I think, certainly bright side stories. Things, if you don't like this kind of stuff, then I don't know who you are. We're going to jump right to the Turkish sharpshooter hitman, Turkish John Wick, they're calling him, Yusuf Dikeç. And forgive me when I get that name wrong, because I certainly will pronounce it wrong. This guy is the single coolest guy to come out of the Olympics in forever. And there were some good ones this year.
We went straight from Hawk Tuah to Turkish Sharpshooter is what we did.
We did. And you know what? The guy's awesome. He, if you haven't seen it, it was the 10-meter air pistol event. And if anyone hasn't seen this, first of all, get out from under your rock. But yeah, it's a good ways to go with a handgun. And you have to fire it with one hand in a standing, unsupported position, which, if you know anything about shooting firearms,
that's awful.
That's hard. Like it's
Do you see the size of the targets too?
Yeah,
I saw those. Yep. It's nuts. They're like sand dollars. The entire target is like a sand dollar.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's really impressive. Everyone shows up to this thing with like a special reticle over their shooting eye that helps them sort of, lock in on the target and actually target. And they show up with a lens that covers their non-shooting eye to help them focus with the firing eye. They wear sound reducing headphones and ear covers to drown out sound and help them concentrate and protect their ears. And a lot of them wear special clothing that helps, mitigate the compressions from breathing, helps them hold their breath a little bit. They come teched out for this thing. And here comes Dikeç, Yusuf. He shows up in a t-shirt with one yellow earplug. Like, he didn't even have an earplug for each ear. He brought one yellow earplug, just his regular seeing glasses, hand in his pocket. I think he had sandals on when he first showed up, like flip-flops.
This dude's like, he's an actual badass.
Yeah. He literally looks like he rolled out of bed. It's crazy.
It's so good.
And he just casually takes the silver medal, and it was fantastic. That was one of the highlights of the whole Olympics for me so far. This guy was great. Shout out to Yusuf. This guy was fantastic.
What they say, they were like, make sure you take second to not draw too much attention.
It's like the race from The Incredibles where they're telling the kid not to outrun everybody. No, slow down. You can go faster. Not too fast, slow down. Yeah, no, this was great. And it was just perfect. And the memes that are coming out of this are amazing.
Oh my gosh, they're so good.
Oh,
I saw a comic that said, hey, whatever. And it's just like, no, I'm retired. We got one last job for you.
I saw that
It's
one.
like, what is it?
He's at the bar and the
He's
agent
at
walks
the
up
bar.
behind him.
You're right.
We have one last mission for you. Told you I'm
No,
retired. It's for your country.
It's for your country.
All right, where is it? And then it flashes to Paris and him shooting. Yes,
So
Yusuf was a
good.
high point. A great talking point, a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see him appear. I'm assuming he speaks English because a lot of the European and the Eastern European countries speak English. I'm hoping he has enough that he appears on guest shows and talk shows, and I want to see that tour. Like, it'd be great. But he's 51 years old and just, showed up like a boss. It was great. All right, we're gonna get some more names wrong here.
He's like new fear unlocked for me. He's the most terrifying person in the world right now, that a guy who looks like that without
Yeah.
any special aid could, shoot the top corner of my ear off if he wanted to, basically.
It's wild, right?
Oh,
Like,
it's nuts.
yeah. We're gonna go to Pommel Horse Guy. Are you familiar with Pommel Horse Guy?
The US kid who was cross-eyed, Nicholas something, watered down
Steven
his
something.
Steven something. Okay.
I can't pronounce the last
Watered
name.
down his routine to ensure the team got gold.
Nedorosik?
Yeah.
Nedorosik?
I actually saw that video and that little highlight on X, formerly known as Twitter.
It's literally the only event he does. It's the only thing he competes in. He spends his time like solving Rubik's cubes on YouTube, like timed Rubik's cube solving is kind of like his thing. And he came out and destroyed the pommel horse. But the coolest thing about it was before he came out, and you see a picture of him just looking up with his glasses on, just like closing his eyes and taking breaths, getting ready, calming his nerves. And then he just like takes the glasses off and goes out and destroys the event. It was a very Clark Kent Superman kind of moment when he just like peels the glasses off and here are your superpowers. It was super, super cool. It was just neat. Okay. And then we're going to get to a slightly less necessarily positive topic, one that I've been back and forth on and I've had some bouncing on, and that's going to be women's boxing. And when this first broke, I was on one side of the fence very clearly, and I'm now on the I want to wait for more information side of the fence.
Uh-huh.
I assume you're familiar with the boxers in question here. Like, you had to have seen these highlights.
Yeah. I'm well, still clear as mud, I think, officially, but I'm familiar with the claims from both sides and the reasoning behind said claims. So
all right. So there are two women boxers that are absolutely destroying all of their opponents. One of them is featherweight, and the other is in essentially 155 pounds. I don't know what weight class that is off the top of my head. But Imaine Khalif, and I apologize for probably getting that name wrong, is an Algerian boxer. She's boxing, and she's fighting for the gold medal tomorrow after just utterly destroying all of the competition so far. And it turns out that in 2021, the International Boxing Committee essentially noted some strange results from her blood test. And she was tested again at the World Boxing Championships in 2023 and disqualified for failing the gender test. And what they said was that she had, it's not karyotype. What's the word for the complete gene sequence? Is it karyotype?
Oh, chromosome?
No, it begins with a K. It's essentially all of the chromosomes taken in order to give a complete picture.
Yeah, I can't remember what that is. Kerosene? Carrot?
I'll find it. But essentially, they determined genetically with that test that she was a male, and said, no, we're disqualifying you because you're a male. This doesn't work for us. Sorry. Well, now there are a lot of stories coming out saying that she may very well be a biological female born her whole life who suffers from something called DSD, differentiated sexual development. And apparently this is a known condition that can cause women to develop a Y chromosome. And it can actually happen in someone who's born a female. And I don't know much about this. I really, really don't know anything about this disorder. And I've done just a little bit of reading, but the problem is IBOC, the committee who did this, who banned them, they're not allowed to release medical records, so they can't say exactly what happened. and B, they're no longer being recognized by a lot of international boxing entities because they have done a lot of very unethical, very shady things over the last several years. Some of them financial, some of them promotional, some of them dealing with competitive equality and fairness. So they don't have a lot of credibility.
So FIFA.
They're FIFA,
They're
basically, yeah,
FIFA,
but
basically. There you
worse
go.
actually. And then the other part of it that makes this information a little suspect to me is that it was released by literally a Russian oligarch after
I did
Doug's
not know that, but that's why I almost
Doug's
spit my
spitting out
drink
his
out.
alcohol.
I almost spit out my drink. That makes it funnier.
The
Oh,
ban was
yay.
initiated and announced by a Russian oligarch, and it happened right after Imane Khalif defeated a Russian boxer like for a qualifying round. And that was when they started it. So the timing of it, the lack of credibility, the source of it, and then the possibility of this DSD, which I know very little about. Initially, when I saw this and I saw the punishing shots that she gave very quickly in the first round of the Italian boxer, I forget her name. My first thought was, oh my gosh, this woman is an absolute animal. This is a freak. And then I heard she failed the gender test, and I went, oh well, that makes sense. She's had testosterone all her life. Okay, that's unfair. Get her the hell out of there. But it turns out that may not be accurate, and she might just be sort of what's the word? An outlier in the same way that Michael Phelps was an outlier, like just freakish physical ability, and he found the sport that had that it benefited the most from it. She might have this DSD and just has higher testosterone and is bigger. She's much taller. Her height and her length is significant over all the other boxers. Maybe she has this DSD issue and it's affected her body in such a way that she's got masculine development traits. And if that's the case, then you got to let her box, and you got to let her, if she's going to win gold, she's going to win gold. And that's the side of the fence I'm on now. Is I'm waiting to see where everything settles with information. I want to know more about DSD. I want to know more about, her background. And I'm very curious about what the truth is. And if in the end she was born a female and she was, she's a female now, and she just happens to have this very strange outlier condition, then sorry, but LeBron James is a big physical freak of a specimen too, and we don't ban the biggest, tallest person from the NBA from the NBA. So I think you got to let her fight. But if it comes out that no, this is all a fraud, and she's actually born a male and had testosterone her whole life, and they're perpetuating something like this, then in that case, you got to deal with that, and you got to kick her out and make a statement. In any case, this is great to bring the conversation to the table, or it should be, to make people talk about it. But you're not getting good conversation. All you're getting is like two different hate-filled sides, like spewing nonsense at each other. And every time a new piece of information comes out, it's haha, I told you so. You're a butthead every single time. And people haven't figured out that we're not going to get all the information at once. It's going to take quite a while to get to the truth of the matter. And it doesn't matter because people don't want the truth. People just want confirmation news that supports whatever their position is. But yeah, that's one of the two boxers in question. But Doug looks like he's been sitting silent for too long. So go.
No, I mean that's the end of the talk. You're like, well, people will just believe what they want to believe. Anyway, moving on. What's for lunch? Well, I was interested. The moment you started saying she, her, it's like, well, I know what side of the fence he's on now. He's at least supporting her slash he slash her as a woman in this competition.
I'm waiting for more information. At first I was very upset, and I was very much on the get men out of women's sports train. I really was. But then this whole DSD thing came up, and I don't know anything about it. And you know me. I'm a moderate. I like to sit until I have information and make a decision.
Yeah, I know.
It's a pain in the ass, I know, but
It's super painful.
I know.
It hurts just sitting right now on my ass. Um, well, this is much more convoluted than we could ever really get into, but I'm on the same train too. And like I said, this is clear as mud right now. We don't really know. We don't have anything quote conclusive. There's not a narrative kind of swinging exactly one way to say what this person's, birth gender really is.
Right.
My own personal couple of cents on this is a couple of things. the people who seem to be supporting Khalif as a female are saying things like they were designated female on their birth certificate, they were designated female on their passport and other
Passport. Yeah.
documentation,
I didn't even
they were
touch on that
raised
shit.
as a girl, they were and even other things like, oh well, they lost 5 matches to women also, so you're just going to say that those 5 women who beat her are men too. And also, honestly, the funniest to me is that, well, if she has lady parts, then she's a woman. And honestly, that's a stupid talking point because people on the other side have keyed in on that and said, "Oh, genitals determine gender now." Like you shouldn't have offered that one up. That's my thought on this is I do think it's funny that when it suddenly helps a case, genitals matter because we were hearing all the time that genitals didn't matter. It was all about how you felt and who you are on the inside and all that stuff. Um, I'm not going to take a hard opinion on either side as to whether or not these two boxers should be boxing. At least for me, and this may be my own um, lack of awareness, I suppose. To me, the debate over men and women in other sports has always actually been around this. People want to focus on, the kind of the outward appearances of gender and genitals and all that stuff because to be perfectly honest, that's a shorthand for it. That's how things quote usually are. At the end of the day, though, really your chromosomes determine your gender, XX or XY. If these boxers were actually born with XY chromosomes, they are men because of their testosterone levels, because that's how they're biologically set up. I believe this DSD stuff is what people have referred to in the past as intersex, where the genitals that develop, because I guess I don't understand this, but I guess every human egg is basically like one of the X chromosomes. It's the X chromosome that we all have. And then the sperm that egg, lets in carries either an X or a Y. And that's what determines ultimately your gender. And the development is the same up to a certain point, a couple of days or whatever like that. And then they found out that basically you're normally on track to always have, ovaries and female parts essentially, but then the Y chromosome carries something with it that sort of diverts that track and says, I mean, this is really, you want to hear a really watered down bad analogy. Basically, it says, no, you're not going to be an innie, you're going to be an outie now. You're going to be an outie belly button this time, except
Is this
it's
why
your
men have nipples? Because that would explain that. Like you started
I
that
think I think that's
developmental
actually
process
I
before.
think that's actually why is that it's just
That
yeah
makes
it's one
sense.
of those things behind it is that there's something that kind of diverts that little train and says no, actually you're going to do this over here instead, and it kind of diverts some of that stuff and makes it slightly different. But part of what diverts that and what comes with that are the increased levels of testosterone, which, as we know, testosterone is not just usually genital determining it determines psyche, personality. I mean, they found that the people who grow up to do the X Games have much higher testosterone in the womb than others of their gender. They actually found a study. They said
How do you
even
track that?
they did a bunch of tests across the board, and they tracked these babies slash people all the way into what they were doing in their adult lives. Like, and this is true in women too. So sorry, this is a backdrop. There's a whole documentary on this too, which is why I have some of this information. So I think you probably know, Tom, and I think most people kind of have heard this, but maybe they forget it. Every single one of us has levels of testosterone and levels of estrogen.
Right.
We all have it. And, essentially in men, it's like, sort of a 65-35 kind of ratio usually. And in women, it's more like a 70-30 with like estrogen in the lead kind of ratio. So women just have way more estrogen, men have way more testosterone, but we all have levels of it, which is why men aren't literally like cold-blooded killing machines. Like we still have empathy and stuff like that because some of the stuff is driven, like that stuff is driven by estrogen. And it's the level of it alone doesn't automatically dictate personality, but it does dictate, your various abilities to develop certain skills or muscles or attitudes, which is why they found that even grown women who competed in X Games and other like extreme events like that, in the womb they had, 50% more testosterone than other female babies, for example, comparatively. So just stuff like that is in play here. If, and again, I'm just saying if because we don't really know, clear as mud, if these boxers turn out to have XY chromosomes, then if they were born with female genitalia, that makes them intersex, which makes them an exception to the rule. It doesn't make them part of the rule. That doesn't really. They're still men because their biological processes were otherwise geared towards forming men, and this genital part malfunctioned or didn't coalesce, didn't create itself. And I think that's the kicker that everyone kind of forgets is we key in on genitalia for our gender identity because usually it's about as good as you can get, just like visually off the cuff, whatever. But it's not officially a blood test, it's not officially a DNA test, and there's always exceptions to the rule. And that's really, I think, what should determine who competes and what is the chromosomes, not really the genitalia. We've also proven that you can apparently change your genitals at any time with surgery now, so we have to at least add that as a potential variable. But the Michael Phelps thing, sorry, let me pause for a second because I've been talking a lot on this stuff. Let me get to the point that I'm ultimately building up to. People who have kind of held on to the camp of no, you can't just change your genitals and change your gender. They're not saying that to be a man you have to have a penis and to be a woman you have to have a vagina. They're not really saying that. They're saying that like this is how we tell, like this is kind of like the most important physical identifier.
It's a shortcut. It's a heuristic.
What they're really saying is this is how we know you're a man. The XY chromosomes make you a man, and we see that because you have a penis. XX chromosomes make you a woman because we see that you have a vagina, so we know that visually. But the people who fall into this category of not having the corresponding chromosomes and genitals, that's just an exception to the rule. That's not the rule. And I think there's plenty of biology out there to back that genitals alone don't. They're not the only thing that are generally predictive of gender. They've talked about other things like sharper chins, body hair, even eye recesses are usually a little bit different between men and women overall. Like the pelvic stuff, pelvic bone things. It'd be interesting to see what these boxers' pelvic bones look like. That's
the pelvic bone is the only bone that is different per sex. Right. It's the only one in the whole body.
That would be an interesting. I haven't seen any talks about pelvic bones. Let's get an X-ray of these people. Come on, that honestly, that's invasive. They probably haven't done that on purpose. Just talking about it more. So
we went way down this one, way further.
I know we did. Go. But where I'm going with this
is not where we probably need to be headed right now.
That's fine. No, but so here's the thing: when people are saying, "Well, Michael Phelps is a freak of nature," yes, he is. But this is not the same at all. If you're talking about actual like chromosomal level differences, Michael Phelps compared to other male swimmers is he's like a piranha around a bunch of goldfish. He's bigger, he's badder, he's gonna like win all the time.
Well, he's got a ridiculously disproportionate wingspan, and he's got like double jointed ankles that apparently help, and he's got all this weird.
But when it comes to like testosterone levels, I mean, the difference between Michael Phelps and other male swimmers is like that. When you talk about like XY versus XX, that's like a killer whale versus like a seal. But it's I know, poor seal, but the levels of just it's wildly different. I mean, Michael Phelps, I'm sure you could probably check it, but he does not have nearly the same base level difference of testosterone between him and other competitors. In that case, between other XYs, he has some additional advantages that developed on top of his chromosomes, but he wasn't starting with a brand new like set to begin with, if you will, from the start. And I think that's where the difference is here. And
I'm curious to see what we learn about the chromosomes, because again, none of this is confirmed. It's all coming from IBOC, and they can't give us, certain information. And there's so much, disinformation being spread right now that I don't know what I can trust and I can't. So I'm really curious once all the dust settles, it'll be 6 months. But I'm really curious if we'll ever get that information, and we'll get to learn more about it on this level for that, and for Lin Yu Ting is the other boxer in the
Yeah.
situation. And so two things real quick. One thing you mentioned I wanted to talk about and forgot. You are absolutely right. It is really suspect how the Olympics is saying, listen, our criteria is just the gender on your passport. That's all we care about. And they meet that criteria. They're not saying, you know, these people have passed tests. These people
Yeah, I
we've checked.
don't like that.
Right.
Because yeah, it's an
Their only level of check is a passport, is the box that you checked on your passport. And to me, that seems
I
not
mean,
enough.
honestly, I mean, the fact that identity theft exists proves to me that most government documentation really should not be your key legal point, if you will, if you're arguing this
Right.
in court. You just can't, because those can
Especially
be
something
fake.
that's being treated as subjective as gender right now, like.
Right. Right.
So that's my issue with the Olympic Committee's stance on this, is that I don't feel they're doing due diligence. And they're standing by. Essentially, their statement says, "You guys are shady, and we don't recognize you. You're not the boss of us, so you're lying. Like, all your arguments and everything you're saying doesn't
It's
count
kind of ad
because we don't
hominem.
recognize you." It is.
Yeah, it's
It's
basically
very
like, yeah,
much.
you're shady.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very much like a sovereign citizen saying, "I don't recognize the state's authority, so I don't have to obey your laws." That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Well,
But
and for the record, I mean, character matters, though. I mean,
yeah, oh, absolutely.
you can't just say, oh well, we have to ignore someone's character in every claim and investigate it completely impartially. You can't do that.
Yep. And
Take forever.
IBOC is shady as hell.
But
Like, all
yeah,
these things that are coming up are legitimate, and their information is shady. So again, I think there is so little credible information in this. That's the biggest reason I don't want to, jump down on one side or the other right now, because nobody has any factual evidence. Everyone screams that it's a fact. This is the case. Both sides right now are saying this is not debatable. It's a fact. She is a woman, or she is a man. Like, both
yeah.
sides are saying the same thing. And guess what? If it was a fact, you wouldn't be able to do that. You guys are all playing the disinformation, and so
No,
that's
yeah.
frustrating.
I
But the
think powers
interesting
that
thing,
be are doing this on
right?
purpose, though. They
Yep,
get
they're
more
sowing
of
dissent.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And the interesting thing is that Lin Yu Ting of Chinese Taipei, she's also boxing for gold tomorrow and having the same controversies. And yeah, I feel bad saying this, but judging by like the eye test, if you were to just look at these two people, Lin Yu Ting looks very masculine to me. And I know it's
They,
different
I mean, they
cultures.
both do,
It
but then
shows
again,
differently, but yeah.
so did the Williams sisters a little bit too. I mean, you can argue stuff like that.
I don't know about that. That's a different
Okay,
conversation too.
I'm just trying to see if I can get a
but
reaction.
I think the Williams sisters, I find them both to be very attractive. But Lin Yu Ting is getting almost no conversation out of this. Somehow, like, is going very, very below the radar in
Is
comparison.
this I mean, it's now more in the forefront, but was Iman Khalif's match first against the Italian? Was that the first, like,
It
before
may
Lin
have
Yuting's?
been. I don't know. I think it's because she's boxing as a heavier weight class, and so the power is
Oh,
more obvious and apparent in the heavier weight classes.
well, it's true. Even with
So
men, it's amazing how different that is
it
by weight
is, yeah.
class. Yeah.
But I'm really surprised that, I mean, it's not even like a 60-40 or a 70-30 split. It's like 94% of the attention is on Maine, and maybe
Yeah.
5 or 6% is on Lin Yu Ting right now. And I feel like
I feel
I
like
feel
it's
like
more 80-20 from what I've just seen
okay.
on my own feeds. But right, but that's the point, is now they're in the finals against each other. So,
Well, not against each other, in different weight classes, so they're not
well,
going to
but
fight each other.
right, sorry, right.
Yeah.
In the finals for their weight classes, sorry.
I expect they'll both win gold. They'll both win gold. And I'm curious to see where that goes from there. But yeah. Anyway, so that was a long detour. We went way down the rabbit hole on that one.
It's just not this. I mean, I get what people are trying to do by saying, oh, well, Michael Phelps or LeBron James or whatever like that. But I mean, just visually, when you put LeBron James on the court with a bunch of other professional NBA athletes, or Michael Phelps in the pool. I mean, Michael Phelps won all those golds, but he didn't win them convincingly. A bunch of them were like, they had to review. Some, don't make that face. Some of them, yes, he did
I
win
feel like he
convincingly.
won them very convincingly
He
for the
won a
most
lot of
part.
them. Clearly, he was he was clearly better, but he was better by like this much. He wasn't better
Okay.
by
I'll
like,
take your word for it because I don't
and there
really
were
remember that
a
well.
couple of those golds were in relays too, where I mean they were reviewing like crazy to see who touched the wall first. I mean, it was still neck and neck for a lot of them. People like to sit there and think, oh, he won this so many golds, he just dominated everything. But a lot of them were very close. He was not that far off from, losing out on a couple of those.
I'll take your word for it. But we don't need to go back down this rabbit hole. We're going to cover lots of this next week. Let's go now to pole vaulting because wow, that was a fun one. The pole vaulting was quite the
Oh, the
story.
guy who broke his own world record or his own record again.
No, the guy who
No.
knocked the pole off with his Johnson.
We already talked about that, but he didn't. Well, he
Well,
didn't. He
he
knocked the
did.
pole off with it, but he didn't
did.
disqualify himself with it.
All right. Well, all right. I thought we were going to talk about him a little bit, but we don't have to. Dude's impressive. Go France. He's going to be picking up
Impressive for
women
what?
for having a package big enough to dislodge that. The guy brought 2 poles to the pole vault. Come on.
It sounds like cheating.
It does sound like cheating. It really does. It really does. Anthony Amarati was his name, and
Didn't he get an underwear
congratulations,
deal?
Anthony.
I was reading somewhere that he got an underwear endorsement deal, actually.
Oh, I didn't see that, but that would make
So,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
It would.
No, I saw the other one, and I was like, wow, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. All right. So Doug doesn't want to talk about that in more detail because Doug's lame. So we're gonna skip past any more detail about
We
the
just
pole
spent a
vaulter.
whole bunch of time talking about genitalia, and you want to keep going?
The synchronized swimmers. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
It was cool.
If you haven't seen that video, do yourself a favor, go find it. It's really, really neat. It's
or we'll just link it so you don't have to go find it because
go.
we are kind rulers of our
We
little
are.
podcast.
We are super kind rulers for dictators and tyrannical fascists. We're pretty kind. The coolest event in the Olympics this year, I've got 2 nominations for you. I've got speed climbing, as I already mentioned, and the kayak cross. Did you see any of that?
No, is that the one where they run across the kayaks though, like out in the water?
Well, it's like bumper cars or Mario Kart is the description. It's like Mario Kart with kayaks.
No, I haven't seen this at all.
They literally, I had no idea this was happening until someone mentioned it to me over the weekend. We were talking about the Olympics at a gathering and they were like, have you seen the kayak crossing? And I went, the what? They're like, dude, it's Mario Kart. It's what? They literally drop 4 people in their kayaks. They drop them into the water from like 6 feet. And then they have to work their way down like a 200-meter whitewater course with like hurdles and buoys and bars coming across like tripwires. They have to do like rolls under these things as they're moving down the white water. They can bump each other. They can paddle each other. It's Mario Kart and kayaks.
It sounds
down
more like
rapids.
I was gonna say and or Diddy Kong Racing.
Yes, it's a lot like that, but it's really friggin' cool.
What?
They're slamming into each other. They're ducking underwater to avoid hits. It's cool. Like it's really neat. We'll put a link to that too. But Kayak Cross is super cool.
I put a note in here like I have to see this.
Yeah, you're gonna want to go find that because that's really.
Are there
really
some
cool.
good wipeouts then, like where people just go "Hoo," and get hit by a post or something? Or
I didn't see any.
Out of it?
No, I didn't see any of those, but I'm sure that there probably are.
No, there's videos going around out there of like it says I'm sad to announce I did not qualify for the Olympics, and it shows people just like failing. It's messed up. Anyway,
all right. Let's see. Oh, the Dutch pedophile on the volleyball team. Do we want to talk about him at all? I feel like I don't want to mention his name. I feel like I just want to say I'm shocked that this happened. I don't want to draw any attention to him.
Don't mention his name because I mean, like I can't even remember the guy's name.
Good.
This is one of those things that I kind of treated like this Last Supper thing. I'm like, well, if that's true, that's really awful, and I'm just not gonna waste time digging into it. I mean, if it's not true, then
he had a really awful
sucks to
smear
be-
campaign run against him.
I was gonna say sucks to be that guy.
Yeah.
Did I mention on a previous episode how I felt about the like registries? Yeah,
Yeah, we talked about it. We shared a couple of cases.
It's a
where
massive
someone
scarlet letter. So I mean, like it is. I do feel like it being improperly put on that list is evil if someone does that to you, like actual evil, not just using the word for fun. But yeah, if he actually is, then while it's probably perfectly legal for him to be on the team and do all that stuff, I mean, it is not a good look. We talked about how I'm Old Testament in a lot of my stances. If you're willing to violate a child in that way, I'm perfectly fine if you never see the light of day again. because that shows, and I'm not even getting into the whole, oh well, they're the most often repeat offenders of each criminal demographic and blah blah blah. I just mean it shows a certain predisposition or capability for evil that especially as a parent I am not tolerant of. I'm sorry, I will not tolerate that. We can talk about what I tolerate or don't tolerate all day. That I am extremely intolerant of that, and I always will be. And that's just my stance on that.
Yep.
Done.
And I'm with you, and I feel like no more needs to be said on that one. So I'm
Yep.
happy to
Okay.
move on past
Good
that.
talk.
But I will just say, shocked that happened. If it is true, shocked that it happened. Yeah. All right. Anyway, moving on. A Dutch swimmer. If we're gonna keep talking about the Dutch, but in a more
Man,
positive
the
way.
Dutch this time, huh?
What's that?
The Dutch, they're just all over the place.
They are. But in this case, it's a swimmer. Her name was Sharon van Rouwendaal, something like that. Sharon, forgive me for getting this wrong. I know you're a dedicated listener and a supporter of the cast and a member of our Patreon, so forgive me for getting your name
I'm sure
wrong.
her name is also pronounced Sharon too.
Yeah, probably wrong. Again, Sharon, we apologize, but thank you for following us and supporting us and being an ardent follower of Two Dads Talking on Patreon and here. She won. I forget what swimming event it was, but it was one of the larger ones in the Seine, and got a gold medal and came to like this tearful dedication where she dedicated it to her dog. And that one, super, super sentimental, like a hell of a moment in my mind. It's if you've lost a dog, it's, it hurts. And it was just a moment. And it's sad, and I'm sorry she lost her dog, but it was just a moment that I really enjoyed watching, and it was just neat. Remember your dogs. Remember your dogs. The Seine River pollution has been a huge topic, where apparently they've had to shut down some events and delay some events. And apparently the Seine River was so damn dirty that people couldn't swim in it without getting sick. And there was a gentleman who threw up something like 9 or 11 times after his event, just swimming in the river. That one's a heck of a topic. Anything you want to talk about there? Do we want to touch on that one, or do we just want to kind of say it's a big city and pollution happens, and yeah, shame on you guys for not figuring it out ahead of time, but what are you going to do in the moment?
Well, we've already seen this with Flint, Michigan, and Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And in both of those cases, it turned out you just had to turn the switch back on that said no pollution. So there's that. No, that's honestly, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
If I'm a Parisian or French, that's embarrassing. If that's how it normally is, okay, fine. Yes, there's plenty of governmental bureaucracy and groups and otherwise that don't give a shit about stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you can't clean it up for the Olympics, even China cleaned up for the Olympics.
Yeah.
They build factories in like 5 minutes. So those aren't compliant with EPA.
Yeah.
So if you can't figure that out, I'm personally of the opinion that, because some people think athletes are finely tuned machines that only take certain, tolerances of certain things. I think it's the opposite. I think people at this level, like if an Olympic athlete is throwing up multiple times after swimming in this, that means an average person is like on the couch for 3 days. They're probably less able to deal with some of that junk than an Olympic athlete on most cases. So that really says something about how disgusting that river is. And unless someone just missed it on the checklist, I wonder if it's somehow even dirtier.
Yeah.
When the Olympics are not happening.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, is this like this despite their best efforts to clean it? Like they made an extra effort because the Olympics were coming, and it's still like this? Or is this sort of when you have an event like the Olympics, your population quintuples and you get more pollution, and maybe what the steps they had and the safeguards they had in place to deal with this beforehand simply were overwhelmed and there weren't enough. I don't know which of those two it is, but I feel like it's probably one of those two. And like you said, this is just embarrassing.
I mean, this is it. Like, what bigger event could you possibly have as a city?
Maybe the World Cup.
Well, okay, maybe, but like that.
But I think this is
maybe
the biggest. Yeah, I do think this is the biggest. I think this is probably it. But the World Cup's the only thing I can think of that might be there. I mean, even the Super Bowl is not like this. It's not international. So the only thing that might do it would be the World Cup. And that's spread out across multiple cities within a country. So it's probably not. Like I was in Germany for
Yeah.
the World Cup in 2006 and it was insane and it was amazing. But my guess is the Olympics it dwarfs that, I would imagine.
So you know an Oregon Trail when it's like, oh,
Where everybody dies. Yes.
the river was too deep to ford. But instead of just saying like, Stacy drowned, it's like Stacy died of cholera. Like she didn't even the river is so dirty it
We
killed her
didn't
by
know we were
disease
crossing the
first.
Seine River, huh?
She was drowning, but then she died of cholera first.
I love Paris. I've been there. I've been there with my wife for New Year's. It's a great city. It's beautiful. It gets a lot of crap because we like to pick on the French, but Paris is a beautiful city, and it's a shame that it's kind of getting this mark. This is unfortunate. But
It's their own damn fault, man. I'm telling you.
yeah, it might very well
Sorry.
be. All right. Well, that's been my little tour of the Olympics. Turns out Doug has seen enough headlines that didn't really have any news for him.
I
He
know. I
got my
wanted to
true or
call it the
falses
Tour de
right.
France, just for
What's that?
funsies. I wanted to call it the Tour de France
Oh, we can do that. This can be
because
the Tour de
the
France.
Olympics are in France.
Yep, that works.
Hopefully, that doesn't conflict with anything else.
No, I think we'll be fine. We should have
Okay.
more true or falses though. That was kind of fun. I should plan those ahead of time.
That
Can
was
be a
kind
fun
of
one.
fun. Yeah.
I think I like that better than the top threes and the drafting topics. That
Yeah.
was fun.
Sounds like so much work,
Yeah,
but maybe not.
maybe not. Maybe not. Dad jokes?
I guess.
I'm sure you've got some good Olympic dad jokes for me.
No, I don't. I
What?
I haven't
Disappointed.
been watching them, so I haven't been thinking about them too much. Are you are you waiting for me to go?
I am. I don't know why, but I am waiting for you to go first. Do you want me to just go? All right. So Doug's looking
Yeah,
some
let's go.
stuff up.
No, I'm just trying to find the one that I found.
I went with some things that I can't take credit for them. Like I didn't write any of these. None of these are me originals, but I found a list
There it is. I
of
found it. I
top
couldn't
comments.
remember it.
I found a list of top comments sports commentators allegedly made during the Olympics that they would like to retract. And they cracked me up really, really hard. So I'm going to go through a couple of these items. I haven't verified these are real. They may not be, but I should go check them at some point. Before we publish this, I'll take a look. But here are the top comments made by sports commenters during the Olympics that they would like to retract. A weightlifting commentator. This is Grigorieva from Bulgaria. I saw her snatch this morning during her warm-up and it was amazing. A dressage commentator. This is a really lovely horse, and I speak from personal experience since I once mounted her mother. Paul Ham, a gymnast, in his acceptance speech. I owe a lot to my parents, especially my mother and father. That one made me laugh really hard, I'm not going to lie. For some reason, that one just got me in the silly bone. A boxing analyst. Sure, there have been some injuries, even some deaths in boxing, but none of them were really that serious.
Wait. Okay, I got it. Sorry, I'm there.
Softball announcer, and this is just a comment that I want to use in a joke I want to put on a t-shirt. If history repeats itself, I should think we can expect the same thing again.
Yeah.
That's from the redundant school of redundancy. That school of thought.
Sure, that's not Yogi Berra.
At the rowing medal ceremony. Ah, isn't that nice? The wife of the IOC president is hugging the cocks of the British crew. And let's see. The last one I wanted to get to was a tennis commentator. One of the reasons Andy is playing so well is that just before the final round, his wife takes out his balls and kisses them for luck. Oh my God. What did I just say? That one won the gold medal for me. I thought that was fantastic.
Nice. Okay. Did you see that gymnast from North Korea in the Olympics?
Oh, I heard she didn't get the medal, but her execution was flawless.
Yeah, okay, you got it.
Mm.
All right, well, here's a bonus one that I found right before we came on today. Why does Africa never win in the Olympics?
Why does Africa never win in the Olympics? Because it's a continent and not a country?
Damn it.
Oh, I thought there was
you.
actually a punchline.
No,
It was
that's
actually
it.
real.
The
Okay.
punchline is because it's a continent, dumbass.
I saw a post that made me laugh, and I don't know if it was on Reddit or if it was a social media page. I'm not sure where it was, but I thought it was brilliant. And it was, instead of just taking the world's greatest trained athletes in each of these events and putting them up the Olympics, they should just draft ordinary people and
I
make
saw
them do
that.
this shit. Isn't that a brilliant thought? It'd be like a bloopers reel. Why can't you do that on top of this?
I was
Like you
gonna
show the
say.
Mario Kart kayaking, and then you just take like four random guys and put them in Mario Karts. Like, you know how to swim? Yeah? Okay,
Yeah,
go. And you
okay,
just make
go.
them do it. This would be so much fun. I would love that.
It probably would be great. I mean, you'd have to like replace all of the actual rocks with like
No,
pillows.
no, you let them do it. Nope, you let the
No, there'd be
average
so
guys
many
do it. Yep,
deaths. It's
yep.
a lawsuit nightmare. Is
Well,
what it is.
it's a marketing tool. You're demonstrating how hard these actual events are because you know what? I watch some of these gymnasts.
Right?
I watch Simone Biles
Oh
and
my
stuff,
God, they make it
and
look so easy.
they
You're like, I could do
do.
that.
Yeah,
Like,
it looks
no,
so
you
amazing.
can't.
I'm like, you know what? If my kid starts practicing this now, I'm sure she could do that when she was that age. No, no, not just anybody can do that
Well,
stuff.
like, what's his face with the pommel horse, and,
Yeah.
and like you see him like just all you have to do is hold yourself up on your hands for a while. I can do that. It's
Yep.
like, no,
No.
you can, no, you can't.
But how much fun would it be if you and I had to go out there and do that pommel horse and people could be like, look at these slobs
Like,
falling all over themselves.
smack my
This is
teeth on the
hard.
handle.
Yeah. I think it would be a great idea. Like everything except maybe fencing, because in fencing, you're inevitably going to get two nerds who just start reenacting lightsaber duels and have no interest in finishing the event. And that's what it would be. I mean,
I'm just imagining the winner is someone who actually like vaulted. Like everyone else just like smacks into the into
the one guy who actually
the
does
one who
anything right.
There is an avenue to do this legally though, because countries already have the draft for military, right?
Yes.
And that's allowed because the government and it's defending the country in times of need, right? So
Yeah.
if you could tweak the language to be like, we're drafting you for the layman Olympics,
Yeah.
because it's about country image or honor or something like that, and you might be able to do it for a lot of them. I would be terrified of that. They'd pick me for like fencing or some shit.
I'll bring on the fencing. I have no training or skill in it, but I would be one of those nerds. I'd just walk up, I'd brandish it, and I'd say,
On
Luke,
guard.
I am your father. And if the dude responds in turn, great, we're having fun. And if he doesn't, I'm just gonna do like a flying knee strike and knock him out, and then like
I
tap
was
him
gonna
with
say,
the
as a spectator for this, I want to see some actual idiots trying to fence. So if I hope if the judge hears a proper response from the other guy, then you're both disqualified. Get out.
Did you see the fencer that was skipping and like jumping up and down instead of like? Did you see that
No,
one?
I did not.
Oh my goodness, I should have included that. The guy bounced up
Really?
and down like he was on a friggin' pogo stick. And the other guy just didn't know what to do and just kept backing up. And eventually the bouncy guy won. He looked like Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony. It was crazy. But just look up like bouncing fencer and you'll probably find it. It was really kind of neat.
I'll figure it out. I don't know. See, for me, the reason I'm scared of something like fencing, it's not because I don't think I could try. It's that I'll get matched up with the one idiot that'll actually stab me in the face.
Well, that's why you got a face mask. You got a guard. You're good.
He'll find a way. Because I'll get matched up against some like 6'8", 325-pound like Russian bear of a man who will
I must break you.
He'll break the sword in half and throw the toothpicks at me.
No, you know what it would be? You'd get paired up against Yusef. He'd get drafted for this. He would take the epee and fling it like a dagger, and you'd just be done. The Turkish hitman, Turkish John Wick.
I would be like the second clip in his montage to get to the guy he's actually trying to assassinate.
Yeah.
That's not really a way
he
to
would
go.
bounce it off of your safeguarded like equipment to keep you safe, and it would ricochet off of you and kill his target in the crowd somewhere, like 100 meters away.
That sucks.
Yeah, but you'd be all right.
Because then there'd be two people being like, that guy killed him, and pointing at me, and then I'd have to run.
And Yusef fades away into the background.
Right.
All right. Do we have any updates we want to get to, or should we just end this? We've been going for like an hour and a half. I feel like we should probably
this
get
went
to
a
it.
lot longer than I thought it would, actually.
Yeah.
I should have had more faith in you to quiz me and get me rolling on the Olympics.
I can lead a discussion. We can get there.
Apparently I've seen a lot more of than I thought.
Apparently you have. I was surprised you've seen as much as you have.
Yeah.
All right, go watch Kayak Cross. Go do that for sure. Look up a bouncing fencer for sure.
It sounds like you should be watching the speed climbing video, but
Yes,
we're gonna
that too.
We'll try to get links for a lot of these things here in the show notes, so it's just easy access for you. 'Cause that's what we're all about, easy access.
Yeah, easy access.
Yeah, I don't really think I have any updates. Oh, other than I was called I was designated your designated pod buddy.
Yes. Yep, I saw that. I thought that made me laugh. That was pretty
I was
good.
gonna say
Mr. Pod Buddy.
Mr. No, I corrected him. I am that's Mr.
Why would you
Pod
assume
Buddy
it's
to
a
you.
him? Why would you assume it's a
No,
him?
that's me. No, I'm giving my pronoun.
You said I corrected him.
I did correct. Well, you're
You,
damn straight I
you
did.
assumed it was a him.
He assumed I was just a pod buddy
Now
with
you're
no
assuming it's a
gender.
he.
I'm sure it's a he.
I know who it is. And I'll tell you off the air.
Okay, fine. Well, anyway, I corrected this person who assumed my pronouns as pod buddy.
Mr. Pod Buddy.
Honestly, I thought in my head, I thought about Toy Story and Potato Head.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Potato Head to you, you backstabbing murderer. It's like, that was the same energy.
Oh, I did have an update. I don't have the article in front of me. Ladies and gentlemen, the conspiracy continues. We have another sweet treat semi-truck trailer that was tipped over and
Oh, that's
crashed on the side of the
right.
road.
Oh, that
This
was a
one
good
with
update.
frozen
Can't believe we
fruit.
forgot that
Yep,
almost.
I'll
Yeah.
post it up on Facebook and we'll talk about it. But I just want to say there's something going on here. We've got bananas and we've got honeybees and we've got watermelons and now we have frozen fruit. Someone's crashing these trucks on major highways, a couple of them in New England now. Something's going on. This is the second one that was literally within 5 miles of my house. I'm sure I have an alibi. I don't know what it is yet, but yeah, this one was literally an
But
exit I
God, this
drive by
flambe
every
tastes
day of the week.
delicious.
This one in the bananas, literally exits I drive by almost every single day. It was kind of wild. Yep, we'll dig deeper. Don't worry,
The
we're
real
gonna figure this out
conspiracy,
for
you
you.
got to figure out if it's the same driver of all the trucks.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah.
All right. Check us out on Patreon. Check us out on all the socials. Do me a favor. We are super close to having enough followers on
Yes.
Facebook that we can do live streams. We literally need like 12 or 13 more followers. So
Mhm.
if you have a moment and you're listening, go to our Facebook, click the like at the follow button. And then if you're feeling extra generous, just share us real quick on your feed and just say, hey, please follow these guys. We would really appreciate it. Right now, we do
Yep.
live streams through my channel, and then I have to like download the video and upload it.
And then send it over to the other one and all
we're
that. Yeah.
scamming people, right? Facebook decides that I'm trying to spam something and it deletes the video and I have to re-upload it. Just let us live stream and just follow us, share us, please. It would really be helpful. We would really appreciate that. That would be the dad homework for this week.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, I mean, I suppose if I was running Facebook, I wouldn't want anybody to just stream from any account that's not assigned to you. Like that
Yeah.
adds some legitimacy if you're not like an actual individual person for
I'm
streaming.
fine with
But
that.
yes.
What I don't like is
Yeah.
that when I post a video and they say, nope, looks like you're spamming, the message I get is, it looks like you're trying to attract followers. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's
Well,
the
yeah, that's the whole
business. That's the goal here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You
so
don't
I
actually have to pay
repost it
attention to
and-
us. Just follow us.
Yeah, that's all
Yeah.
I want. You can ignore all the posts afterward. We don't post that often. It's fine. What we do post is usually a silly image or something fun. But yes, please follow us. Help us get to that 100 follower threshold, and then share us so that that helps the effort too. I really feel like if everybody that shared us, we get about 50 downloads on every episode every week. If all those people who are listening just shared us one time and said, hey, tune into this, you might find it fun, we'd probably blow right up and we'd be in a different place. So help us out. We'd appreciate it. Join us on Patreon. Doug added an odd this week. I have not added one yet this week. I put one up last week. It's a first
Mine's
draft of a story.
really boring though.
Doug's is pretty boring unless you are
Tom.
going to be buying a home pretty soon.
It's not even that. If you're just into real estate
Yeah.
at all, then
That's
you'll probably have an opinion on it and you'll like it. But
Yeah,
yes.
and honestly, if you are buying a home soon, it might be very relevant for you. It's I joke that it's boring, but it's just not my. I don't it's not for me right now. But Doug is very knowledgeable on the matter, and he's done his homework, and this is what he does, and he's got good advice in there. So, it's probably very useful. Me, I like my fiction, I like my conspiracy theories, I like that kind of stuff. So, yeah, join us on Patreon. For $3 a month, you get access to lots of other content. We've got about 10 hours of stuff on there. Oh, no, it's not that much. I'm sorry. It's not that much. We've got about 6 hours probably of stuff on there right now. And we're going to add to it. My goal is to do an odd every week. And Doug hops on there and does them. It's probably averaged out to about the same.
Yeah, because I did like 3 in 2 days. Just
Yeah,
wanted to get
so
it.
it averages out to be the same.
I had my questions for your frequent flyer too, and we didn't even get to them.
Oh, well, we
I
want to do
forgot
that
about
now?
that.
Count
Yeah,
as
we could we
epics?
could we could add it now
Is
too.
it going
Yeah.
to take a long time, or is it something we
No,
can knock out in 5 minutes?
no. So this is, and for the record, I want to start calling them odditas because there's 3Ds. Do we ever get the protagonist's name in your frequent flyer?
No.
Oddita?
Nope.
Okay. And that was on purpose.
Yes.
So it could kind of be you. Feels
Yep.
better that way. Feels close. Okay, cool. Good talk. That was it. First
Oh,
feedback.
that was easy.
I'd be interested to know how the protagonist is dressed
Okay.
because his cabin mate, you said, I believe something like khakis and red polo, and then the 511 hat.
Mhm.
So, but I don't think we hear anything. I'm envisioning like a suit without a tie,
Yep.
maybe for your
Business casual is kind of what I
protagonist.
was envisioning for it too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know if that would help at all with casting the image. But again, thought that might have been on purpose, because I think you try to make your writing like you are the protagonist.
In
I
this
feel
case,
like
I
the way,
did. Yeah.
yeah, so maybe you don't want to do that, but I was just, that was something I was thinking. Um, the protagonist mentioned a quote, real New Yorker might say something about his hat. And at first I thought that meant that they were like flying out of New York or something. And I actually didn't make the connection with the 511/911 hat thing. I don't know if it was just meant to be that, but that kind of got me thinking of like, does the protagonist have some extra connection to New York City, whether or not it's related to just, a generic passerby or not. So I was just gonna add some feedback that was like, what was a real New Yorker have to do with this?
Yeah.
Unless they're in New York. So,
I appreciate it. I like the
and
feedback.
then the very end, asking about the hat, is there some like sneaky answer embedded in it earlier that kind of gives it away, or is it just meant to be the humanistic, like he should have been viewing this person this way at the beginning of the flight instead of at the end?
It's closer to that. It's
Okay.
more of him changing how he's thinking about this, and it shows something that he was dug very firmly into, and his knee-jerk reaction was this mocking, deprecating place.
Shows him
And by the
overcoming his biases, essentially.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
yep. And he's
All right, cool.
reevaluating everything, and it's a character shift, and it's the clearest indication, the only real indication you have throughout the whole thing that the moment that changed things, had an effect,
Yeah.
and that you've got character development. So that's all that is. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, I thought that's what it was, but then I started thinking, shit, was there something I missed here? Like,
No.
so okay,
Nope,
good.
that's the flag for character development, and that's what
Okay,
allows
cool.
me to end it right there instead of going any further. That's yep.
Okay. Well, that was it. I just wanted to be your guinea pig for that too, and just say what specific thoughts I had listening to it. So it was good. I honestly, I've had little rumblings here and there in my past being like, oh, maybe I could sit down and write something. It might be kind of fun. And then I hear your first drafts and I'm like, well, shit, that's like twice as good as anything I feel like I could ever do. So maybe I shouldn't write.
It's I wouldn't
It's
go that
good.
far. It's
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 good.
definitely a rough draft. Like there's stuff that needs to be fixed. The first time I started like sat down to work with it, I had a very different vision in mind for why he was so nervous about this kid. And I decided not to go that route, and I think I
Mhm.
may take it that way in the next draft. I might make some changes, and it's we'll cover that more. I don't want to ruin it since it's sort of a Patreon
Yeah.
thing. You to follow me on the journey, but the motivations are different, and
The changes can be universal and not just grammatical or editorial per se, too. Yeah.
and that's what a lot of it is. Honestly, it's the rough draft. You get it down, and then you look at it and you say, well, what doesn't work from a big picture or holistic point of view? Does my character does this line up? This action he's taking line up with who he shows that he is early on? And if not, then you have to either justify why something has changed, or you need to fix who he was early on, or you have to fix the action. So a lot of it
Right.
is not really the grammar so much that gets polished in the second drafts. It's more of the big picture editorial stuff.
Consistency. Yeah. Well, this is not meant to be a plug for the Patreon, but it sort of ends up being it. I mean, Tom really is a good writer, and I'm not saying that just because, he's looking at me and he can hear me and I have to act like I'm impressed by it. No,
Thanks,
he
buddy.
really is a hell of a writer. I mean, if this really is like a first draft, it shows you there's an actual talent there. So I have heard and read some of Tom's stuff before doing this podcast and all of this, and it is an actual treat to listen to his odds with this. So it's almost those alone are worth the price of admission.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate that.
So, yes, sir. You're welcome.
And now my ego is a little bit sated, and I'll sleep better. So thank you for that too.
You're welcome. I'm here for you.
I'm gonna go get a killer 4.5 hours of sleep tonight.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, anyway, follow us so we
Yes.
can make the live streams on the 2DT account and not Tom's account.
Yep. And yeah, go watch some Kayak Cross. Thank you guys for listening. We
And
appreciate
speed
it.
climbing.
Hopefully by now America has the Olympics are done. Hopefully we held on to the medal count, and hopefully we kicked some ass. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah. Talk nice about us to your neighbors.
And talk nice to us about your neighbors.
Yes, that too.
Later.